Got it. All right. If you got to consent, we're not
I'm
being
not
live streamed. We're live
I'm not
streaming.
I'm not consenting to being live streamed. Is it are we live right now?
We're live right now.
Okay, everyone gets to see you. Do at the top. Start the show.
Hang
What are
on,
you
hang on,
doing?
hang on. This is
Humana,
the preamble. This is what people love the preamble
humana,
on
humana,
YouTube.
humana.
We're actually live. It is
This is
Saturday
a little uncomfortable.
morning on the East Coast. It's also morning on the West Coast, I hear. It's
6:52 a.m.
even earlier. But we're live here. We're running it back. Been doing it for years. This first time we're doing a live stream. It's very exciting. So yeah, I'll count us in.
This is our end of the year too. Okay, you can count it. Sorry, let's stop
Is it
interrupting.
our end of the year? I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's that.
I'm not gonna see you again. I'm
It's like
good.
our everything. We're not going to be back until January, until 2024.
That's
All right, let
right.
me count it. Give me a moment. Okay. Mimo. In 5. Got you going. That's why people listen to the podcast. They don't have to get
What
anything.
is in that? You got a little something special in there?
It's nine. I mean, it's 9:53
It's
somewhere.
like
It's literally
water.
it's week T. All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Running It Back, the lessons learned from sports podcast. We're going to talk about FSU. They was robbed. They was jobbed. Everybody deserves their shot. They're not going to throw away their shot because they're not even going to get to take it.
How many references are you going to have in this?
I was going to try to do Eminem too, but I'll save that for later. Tarlin, how are you doing?
Well, I'm a little sad. And this is our last pod of the year.
Yeah.
I guess I just informed you because I will not be in town the next 3 Saturdays. So, hey, this is going to be this is our holiday wrap.
Yeah.
Always good to see you. I think need to hit on a few things before we talk about FSU because I think they were a job. I'm sure you've been wondering what's going on with the step challenge.
Yes. Oh my God. I mean, the feedback coming out of
uh,
our last episode, Tarlin.
Aside
from the comments, they were like, how many minutes before the actual show starts? Aside from that, outrageously positive.
They don't like this just random chit chat.
Outrageously positive.
We gotta stop. First of all, you hit live. This is live, so this is a little uncomfortable. But okay.
Yeah.
One, averaging over 20,000 steps a day. This is now 40 plus days in. At one point, the woman who ran the marathon, I have no chance of catching. I was within 6,000 steps on Thursday, and I sent her a chat saying, I'll stop stepping if you do. And she said, somehow I don't believe you. And it was 5:30 in the morning. I said, well, I may be walking right now.
Right.
I am, once we get off this pod, we'll continue stepping. I did, which was random. I normally haven't gone on the scale in a while. I've lost 9 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you walk 20,000 steps a day, you just start shedding stuff that you might not know that you need to shed as you're coming up on.
Are you eating more too? Are you hungry? Like, because you're burning calories? I guess you're just burning something. Yeah.
No. That's one. 2, I've learned. So I went to Vegas last weekend. Had a chance to see Usher celebrating the first of my friend's 50th birthdays. I've been to Vegas in a long time.
Did he have anything to say about his son, Ja?
What?
Ja Morant's dad resembles Usher very closely. That's a deep cut. Again, this is for the live viewers. This will not make it. This is
what you would normally cut. Didn't get a chance to go into the Sphere.
Yes,
it is still a massive spectacle.
Yeah.
But
I'm hoping that eventually that drags James Dolan to Vegas. I'm hoping the Sphere is so successful that we kick him out of MSG and let him retire to Las Vegas. But again, does that make it in the episode? I don't know. This is the joy. This is the joy of live. This is the joy of editing. Please continue.
So Usher, show's ridiculous. It's a full-out party before he even gets on stage. The DJ was killing it. My wife and I got a chance to meet Usher.
Nice.
You should see the picture. It's like me on the side.
Just to be clear, this is not the person who showed you to your seats. This is the performer.
This is the performer. You should see the pic is Usher standing next to my wife. It looks like he's all hugged up on him, on her, and I'm like arm's length away. What's happening? But the part that really is like over the top is when Usher comes out and he's like performing 3 songs on roller skates and still doing the same moves. Like, come on, man, this is a little over the top. Really?
He's actually on roller skates?
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. Now, my wife did at one point, because the show I just mentioned kicked off at 9, really 9:30. For those who listen to the pod, they know I'm a morning person. Normally get up around 4.
You're saying I might have 9 p.m. Vegas time.
Yes, I might have fallen asleep in the concert.
I mean, the roller skates, you pick your spots, right?
Yeah. It was a great show.
Yeah.
So, excited to be here. And the last thing I'll share is when you're at a 50th birthday party, you're sharing sort of things pods that people listen to, books that they're reading. Yeah. And I never heard of the pod Smartless by Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes.
Yeah.
And that's a great show. And listening to them, they have great rapport. Listening to them, I was like, oh, so this is what a good pod sounds like. I was actually like, taking notes. So I'm just letting you know.
Right. Okay.
We should be running it back to listen to our own crap so that we get better at what we do. And I was like, in the middle, they're like, we'll be right back. I'm like, there's commercials.
Well, I was expecting you to say that it turns out they listen to Running It Back, that they're running it back listeners. And I also was ready for all your friends at the 50th birthday to come to you and say how much love they have for the pod.
Honestly, there was one buddy, shout out to Brian, who I went to high school, discovered it on his own.
Nice.
And was just searching for new content. I didn't do a mass blast. Yeah. Hey, everyone, and listens to, he's a long time listener. So he literally was telling my wife, he's like, I actually found my own. I listen to them all the time.
Yeah. They're not smartless, but they got it. They got something going on.
My buddy from high school.
Yeah. Well, that's good. There you go.
There you go. All right. Yeah. We're here to talk about.
We're here to talk about the fact that college football is a mess and that the selection process for the college football playoffs. That the selection process is busted because an undefeated team who was rallying despite losing their quarterback. That's my quarterback. Shout out to Terrell Owens. Got to work on RTO impressions, but yeah, FSU.
Tony Romo's really happy that he's still a part of that. That's my quarterback. Does he know that he's part of that? That's my quarterback.
We have an episode on it, in fact. But FSU didn't make it in despite being undefeated. And Alabama, who upset Georgia in the SEC championship, made it in despite the fact that they lost to Texas. And then Texas also with one loss made it in. So FSU, undefeated, struggling on offense, really great defense, is left on the outside looking in. It is a one-time thing here where this is the end of the college football playoffs in their current installation. They're going to be a 12 team. It's going to start feeling more like March Madness starting next year. But this year it's somewhere between back in the day when who knows whether both polls are going to declare the same champion. Then that went to the BCS, which was a problem if there were 3 teams. So then they came up with this 4-team playoff. FSU's left on the outside looking in. There's some lessons to be learned here. We did a little bit of research. We're looking for analogies. We're trying to make connections. I spend way more time thinking about college football than I normally do.
Yeah, you were texting me all random. Like, I'm probably going to talk just about FSU and not a lot of college football. You're like, let me get out of this rabbit hole. So let's just make sure everyone, college football playoffs, there's a committee, as you were describing, 13 individuals. I looked up some of these fine individuals, and this is not about them, but 7 athletic directors, 2 former coaches, 1 Hall of Famer, 1 former tight end, 1 professor, and 1
just a former tight end. That's all. That's all.
It. That was what it was labeled as, 1 former tight end. If you look at it, it's a full masthead with their pictures. and one VP collegiate athletics and community wellness. And so they're tasked, as you described, every week for the last 6 weeks to determine the top 25. They base their rankings off of strength of schedule, conference champs, at the end, team record, head-to-head results, injuries, and it even says weather. As you said, we're in the college football playoffs. It's only the top 4 teams that are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Next year, it's 12 teams.
Right.
So in 2024, the 4 highest ranked conference champions will automatically get a bye. Let's just think about that. The 4 highest ranked champions get an automatic bye. So this year, I'm wondering, was FSU one of the 4 highest ranked champions? Yes.
Really?
Bama did not win their championship.
No, Bama just beat Georgia.
Oh, sorry. Texas won.
They all won.
Who's number 2?
Washington.
No, they did win. Sorry, I forgot Bama won.
Let's again, editing. And for those of you who are watching this live, this is just to show our vulnerability and to embrace the reality.
Then they have 5 top conference champions, 7 highest ranking teams after that. So that's the mix. I'm sitting in Vegas watching. I've got Michigan contingent there. My wife went to Michigan. My brother-in-law went to Michigan. My buddy went to Michigan.
Were you getting any smoke off our last episode? Had anyone heard you?
Oh, everyone, and no one likes me. That's fine. One time, khakis win. Khaki for the shutout. So there, as a fan and as someone who's just thinking about television, like, oh yeah, Alabama wins this game. They're definitely in. Texas is in. There's no way FSU should be in the championship. And that was me thinking as someone's just watching good TV.
Yes.
But then I took a step away. It's like, that's just wrong. Because what has FSU done this year? So FSU 13-0.
Yeah.
They beat the number 15 team at LSU, number 13 team LSU, number 15 team Louisville, and number 22 team Clemson. They're the number 3 strength of record, number 55 strength of schedule, number 31 offensive rank, number 19 defensive rank, and 13-0. They won everything on the field. They lost their leader, the best player on their team, Jordan Travis, to an injury. In the next game, they have their Tate Rodemaker. It's a number 2 quarterback, gets knocked out.
Yeah.
Concussion. And so they have their 3rd stringer playing an ACC championship, and they squeak out a win 16-6 against a ranked opponent.
Yeah.
So why I'm actually frustrated is they're robbing. We have a committee that is thinking more about television, in my mind, and more about the money. Because when you think about the college football playoffs, since 2014, there's never been an SEC team. We've never had a playoffs without an SEC team.
Yeah.
And Bama has been in the playoffs. 8 of the 10 years.
Right.
So if you remove someone determined, I actually talked to another buddy, said he was like, so fine, you think FSU should be in. If FSU played Bama, where would be the spread? Who'd be favored to win? I said Bama.
Yeah.
So there you go. I go, that doesn't mean they shouldn't play. That's just because someone's more highly favored doesn't mean they should be automatically in the playoffs.
Right. Because you still play the game.
That's why you play to win the game, right?
Yes.
So you're robbing us.
Hello.
You're robbing us of underdog stories. You're basically determining what's going to happen on the field. Right. And FSU as a team, they'll get their number 2 quarterback back, and they have a month of practice. You have no idea what that team is going to look like and whether or not they can win. Mm-hmm. So it's frustrating when a team goes undefeated and they're in the 4 slot.
Yeah.
That they can get jumped by someone. Alabama was the number 8 team coming into the last ranking. Yes, they beat Georgia. Mm-hmm. Texas is number 7. It's frustrating that they got leapfrog and Boo. Let's stop here. Boo Corrigan. Boo, what a great name. Who's the committee chair, said FSU is a different team than the first 11 weeks. Without Jordan Travis, without the offensive dynamic, they're a different team.
Right.
They lost 1 player.
Right. I mean, should they just pack it up? Should you just cancel? Or should they be relegated to Division 2? You know, like what? They're still playing the games. They still won their conference. Although that is the other thing. The conferences are like college football is imploding in front of our eyes. Like the idea, like the ACC as quote unquote a Power 5 conference, there's really two conferences left at this point. And
Pac-12 has 2 teams.
Exactly. So, I mean, and it's not like college football's coming out of a very pristine, they've never gotten this right. Like it's always been a problem for them to declare a champion. And like, that is kind of the purpose of leagues for the most part, is to, why do you even play the game? You play the game to win a chip. You play the game to be the champion. And when you're not given a shot, you don't even give them a chance to throw away their shot. They are denied.
Two Hamilton references within 17 minutes. Have you been watching it recently?
I just listened to it as my warm-up. I was listening to, because I forgot.
You want to be in the room where it happens? You are.
That's the other one.
You are right
That's
now.
The other one.
Where it's
That's
happening.
the other one. Actually, right. And if you'll indulge me for a second here, I did spend a little bit of time earlier with Claude, and I did get a little. Malcolm, our virtual co-host here, is going to share with us what Claude was able to glean with some help from me. All right, and with that, Malcolm, take it away.
FSU 2022 snub showcases need to rethink playoff criteria beyond resumes. What criteria justify college football playoff inclusion? Conference championships, sheer win tally in the regular season, visual dominance each setting. The 2023 selection committee leaned hard on quality losses and resume over Florida State's flawless 13-0 record due largely to one.
All right, I got to interrupt him. He's saying, he says resume instead of resume. I mean, like, I think you're kind of out.
Oh, I got confused.
I think we're going to have to.
It sounds like Claude, how many? He's a pack a day smoker. He's a little.
Yes. Well, there was a human who originally voiced Claude. All right. Well, so that was, I tried it out.
Thank you, Claude. We were still looking for our third co-host and people and assistants. You're. If you put in my ear resume and you want me to say resume, I think you're out. So,
do I need an accent on the end of resume? I mean, what does he want from me? But yes,
let's look at teams that should have given up, because once you lose a player, what about the Lakers? You say you want to run it back. Lakers in 1980, right. They lost the MVP, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
right,
in Game 5 against Philly, in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and then had a rookie, one Magic Johnson, win Game 6 in Philly with some believe is his best game ever. 42 points, 15 rebounds.
I mean, let's talk
15 rebounds, 7 assists.
Let's talk 1999 Knicks. Once the big fella went down, they should have just. Why even play?
But if you're going to talk, okay, that only works. You always want to bring in the Knicks and the Mets and these references. They didn't win.
They went much further. Well, even if FSU competed, if they beat the spread.
Okay, fine. I'll give you
You know
that.
what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's more the fact that they earned the spot.
I give you that.
And it starts to undermine the entire competitive landscape of the league. Interesting. I did not realize. I remembered back to 2017 when the UCF Knights ran the table.
Yep. Quarterback got hurt.
Wound up ranked 12th.
Yep.
Undefeated. And then this very year, the Liberty University Flames are undefeated, heading into the Fiesta Bowl.
I had no idea what their mascot was. Thank you for that. I will remember that.
Research. And they're playing the Oregon Ducks, again, in kind of a meaningless bowl game. FSU, I didn't even check. Where is FSU's going to play, right? Who are they playing?
I don't know.
I mean, no, I'm going to look that up because I'm so uninterested once they're not and there's talk of a boycott. I see talk of a boycott. That's the Orange Bowl against Georgia. That's a really interesting game because then if they wind up, what if they beat Georgia by more? Which unlikely, but if they did beat Georgia by more than the 3 points that
it's not even being, it's just being competitive. It not having them in the playoffs, they've determined they don't think they can be competitive.
Yeah.
For me, running back to 1990, Jeff Hostetler. Phil Simms gets hurt.
Yeah.
A backup quarterback. I'm all about the underdogs. I'm all about, you said they're not the same team.
New York Football Giants.
New York Football Giants, improbable victory in the Super Bowl over the Bills.
Yeah. Get used to that narrative. Improbable Super Bowl victory for the Giants.
Tom Brady, 2001. He was a backup quarterback and playing against the greatest show on turf. Yeah. Should not have beaten Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, and that juggernaut of a team, Isaac Bruce. And they went on to win. Yeah. 2008, let's do back to Brady.
Yeah.
Back to your improbable win by the Giants.
18-1.
18-0. They go 18-1. The Giants should have won that game. So, and this is not someone losing one player, but 1985, Villanova beating Georgetown. Georgetown going for the repeat. No way, Villanova, after they'd beaten twice, they'd beaten already in the regular season, win 66-64 against John Thompson, Patrick Ewing again.
Big fella.
So for me, you're robbing us, and I always used to love, I still do, sports movies. You're robbing us of the Hoosiers, the Rudy moments, the Bad News Bears, the Mighty Ducks, the American Underdog. If you've not seen that, it's Kurt Warner's movie. It's not bad.
Yeah. You know, in fact, as prep for this show, I didn't watch Rudy because I've never actually seen Rudy, but I did go to Wikipedia. So I've ramped up on the story.
You've never seen Rudy?
I have shared. I didn't even realize he was fortunate. I have used the Charles Dutton clapping gif when he's very happy at the end of Rudy, but I've never actually watched Rudy start to finish.
You are not allowed to use the gif. Is it GIF? I thought we talked about this.
I'm a hard G kind of guy.
Right. We'll stay hard G.
Yeah, I'm a hard G ever since growing up on the streets of Long Island, you know.
You're not allowed to use.
But anyway, so
you're not allowed to use that anymore until you watch the show.
Story of Rudy. It's true too, right? It is actually true. And we watch sports in part for those underdog David versus Goliath scenarios where boxing's another place I was thinking of where like
Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of ducking of contenders, and it's similarly, poorly managed in that just getting the most competitive games on the field or in the ring is hard. And a lot of it is, in that case, it's probably even more corrupt, but college football is rough to follow. And yet what else are we going to do? Especially like the NFL, it's the feeder system into the NFL, thoughts on the new format? I mean, what do you think? Like, how do you solve these types of problems? How do we analogize out of how FSU is being jobbed? All right. Sorry. Also, like, if you look at their history, they've been on the right side of controversy and on the wrong side of controversy in college football over the years. And this is where I did research. Hang on one moment, please. Let me pull up my notes. All right, here it is. Yeah, because it was 93. FSU and Notre Dame both had one loss. Notre Dame beat Bowden's FSU, but FSU was still named the national champ. And then the other one, where was it? There was one other. 2001. Anyway.
No, I was waiting.
I'm trying to find. I keep getting it wrong. And the other thing that's driving me crazy is I was using Claude AI, and it kept on getting stuff wrong. It kept on. So like I got more confused doing my prep with the AI.
You're using Claude for research, and it's giving you wrong information based on what you know.
Yes, it kept on saying FSU is 9-0 in the 2022 season, and FSU is 13-0 in the 2023 season. So just a little caveat: when you're using large language models, you're going to have to do a lot more fact checking. So they'll generate verbiage for you, but do you really want to use it?
So is that the new job of the future? Just have them spit out a bunch of garbage and we then refine it and check for mistakes?
I think they're just going to keep getting better, right?
No, I know.
We're dealing with it was FSU in, let me look at this. I think it's FSU in two.
So you asked about the new system. I think it's obviously massively flawed now. One of the committee members might be tied to Michigan, so there's some conflict of interest there. When you move to 12 teams, it will be better. There'll always be someone on the out, but we never are really talking about the 13th, 14th, and 15th teams. But that controversy will come. So I think it will be slightly better. You'll have where you'll have some controversy is who are the top 4 teams to get the bye. But if you're in the dance, you play who's in front of you, and so it will be better.
Right.
And I'm happy that we're finally moving in this direction. I'm just, to me, as I start to think about it, so you lose someone on your team. This is no different than hiring. So you never get fired. If there's 10 things you need a new candidate or someone in this role to do, if you look at the job description, you break it down to 10 bits of criteria, 10 criteria, you'll never get fired if you hired someone that covers all 10. Like, oh, this person, like, they're on paper and they got it all. And people struggle to make that athlete hire. So maybe they have 7 of the 10, 8 of the 10. You can learn the rest.
Right.
So for me,
last I checked, Tarlin, you don't do your job on paper.
You do not. The glamour resume where you can talk your way into the job versus showing what you're capable of doing. So losing a single person on the team is sort of reminiscent to me as a parallel to not having maybe one experience or one skill that can be learned, but you're disqualified because most of the time an organization will take the time to teach that or train or allow someone to grow into the position. So that's probably why there's a little frustration there. I've never checked 10 of the boxes, so I was always hoping for an opportunity to grow into a role instead of already have done the job or won everything on paper. Yeah. And so FSU doesn't win on paper, but they're dogs. I mean, they got a great offensive team. I'm not saying they're going to beat Georgia, but they deserve to be one of the 4 teams, and the next team you can pick, one of the 1-loss teams in Texas or Alabama. Mm-hmm. Texas beat Alabama really early in the year. Alabama looked terrible early in the year. They're a miracle throw, 4th and 30 against Auburn to even be in consideration.
Right.
So I think you got to go with the undefeateds, the conference champs, and you just don't determine what someone's capable or team is capable of doing. Mm-hmm. You just don't know.
Yeah. And, first off, to clarify, it was 2001 Orange Bowl. So that was versus Miami in the regular season. Miami beat FSU. FSU was 1 at the time. They beat FSU. They were ranked 7th. They beat them 27-24. And then in the Orange Bowl, Oklahoma was the number 1 team, and FSU got the bid over Miami. And then,
not to cause a little controversy, there may be someone from Miami on the committee. I did this research, but this is not about the committee.
Yeah, and they subsequently lost 13-2, which is that's a score that Claude kept getting backwards. He kept on saying that they won 13-2.
You texted me that. I was like, what score is this? I didn't know if this was their record, their score.
They actually, I think all they scored was a safety that year, which is crazy. I don't remember any of this. And I probably watched a lot of these games. You watch the national championship game, but when you grow up on Long Island, you don't care about that much about college football. But yeah. There was something. What were you just talking about? I'm all a jumble.
Are you flummoxed? Just
I'm flummoxed. I think I spent too much time last minute with the LLM, and it's because I had to do more research because I don't really know college football, so I had to actually spend a lot of time on Wikipedia. And by the way, Wikipedia, if I'm not going to give you $2, if I'm not going to give you $2.75, Wikipedia, just leave me alone. Stop asking me for $2.75, please.
But how many times have you gone to Wikipedia?
For this?
No, in life, you think?
Oh, thousands of times.
We owe Wikipedia $2.75.
We do.
I think you and I mean, the amount of prep, Wikipedia prep, it's really just history in there. But I do other research, but I think, tell everyone that's listening,
right, the
next time you go to Wikipedia, you owe Wikipedia $2.75.
Right.
Yes.
And then I agree. And then the other thing in addition to being pro Wikipedia, the other thing I want to say, college football fans need to simmer down, and especially Roll Tide Alabama fans need to simmer the fuck down. And we could edit that out. We could edit that out. I don't know. I dropped it. We're live too. Let's see. It's out there in the world, Tarlin. Who knows? But they need to take.
I'm glad I'm on the other side of the screen. Yeah, I'm not going after. I mean, I went after the khakis last, and I barely survived.
I think this is just because they're so difficult. It's like, you're waiting tables. You got to walk over to the Crimson Tide fan base and tell them that, we're out of the special. They're going to be a nightmare about it, as opposed to the Liberty Flames or even the FSU's been jobbed so much historically, even though they've gotten some good nods. As a fan base, they're easy enough to push around, but I feel like nobody wants to mess with Alabama, mess with Coach Saban. And to Alabama's credit, everybody was writing them off after they lost. They lost to Texas early this year, and they
benched their starting quarterback. He didn't play.
Right.
They were running out their second and third string quarterback in the beginning of the season.
Right.
They were shambles.
Which is why just the idea of being undefeated, it's part of the problem with college football. This is also where I was working with Claude earlier unsuccessfully to get him to talk about the Highlander rule, which is at the end of the season, if there are any undefeated teams, they play each other until there's only one left, or there's only, like in the national champion. This is not going to happen. None of this stuff is going to happen.
So does Robin know about your relationship with Claude? Because the amount of times you drop Claude, like you spend a lot of time with Claude.
I did this morning. Yeah, I do. I mean, I spend a lot of time with the LLMs, and then, sometimes I even get Nancy, my virtual co-host. I have Claude write Nancy's dialogue, and Nancy voices it a little bit better than Claude. I got to say, technically that's Malcolm who was voicing Claude. But clearly I'm confused. Clearly I am confused, and we're live. But we're going to bring it together. We're going to bring it together.
What we want to end with on the FSU take. One, sure, it is going to be great football. It's, having those four teams, high-powered offenses, there'll be some defense, great fan bases, people will show up. Just don't want to, for the rest of the time, at least for me, I watch those stories, whether it's Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Irrelevant, and now is the starting quarterback for San Francisco, Harvard women's basketball team in 1998 beating Stanford the first 16-1. It's why we watch March Madness.
Right.
You watch for the upsets. You watch for the ability to see a team overcome adversity. Mm-hmm. That's what life's about. Mm-hmm. Nothing's perfect. What do you do when you get punched in the face? FSU got punched in the face. They threw in the next quarterback. They got punched in the face again. Right. They threw in the next quarterback. So
I think the challenge is, those Tostitos ads in the third quarter aren't going to get as many eyeballs. But yeah,
I don't know. But you don't know.
That's true. If they're coming back, they're not a barn burner.
It will be if they're chumps. They're not chumps.
Right.
So I'm happy. I can't wait to get to 2024, or a committee can't determine what they think the score is going to be. They have no idea.
Right.
They play to win the game.
Yes.
They're going to play to win the game. And you have no idea whether or not someone's going to get housed. Especially if FSU's playing Michigan. That's not going to be some high-scoring affair. I mean, we just watched the Big Ten championship. It was 29-0. It was awful.
Yeah.
Come on. So I just want to make sure individuals that are overlooked, teams that are people believe will have no chance, give them a chance.
Yeah.
You never know how individuals will respond. And we've seen it across the board in history when you look at various major moments in sports, the biggest upsets in sports, including 1980 US.
Miracle on Ice.
Thank you. So
absolutely.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And we had a great year, 2023, putting it in the books, looking ahead to 2024. Looks like we're going to be down at South by Southwest EDU in March. We're locking that in. I'm talking to Tarlin's people.
Everyone rushed to Austin. My people are still talking to your people.
I have a good feeling about it. And what do you see on the horizon? What are you interested in? Any goals for the podcast for 2024 as far as you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you and I, we need to spend a little more time together before that. I'm following it off of Smartless. They're funny, they're unafraid of some of the dad jokes. I want you to bring them out a little bit more. sometimes it feels a little too scripted for you, like you wrote some of these down. So I want you just let it go. I want people to see the full dork in you.
No more holding back.
No more holding back. Another goal is just opportunity to pod more. We have this 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 on Saturdays, which means I'm up at 4:30 to prep, and you're playing with Claude at like 6 a.m. your time. So we just want more consistent and times to prep. Third is we're taking in suggestions from our listeners. We know one longtime listener is ready for the bowling. Just haven't been able to connect the dots between.
Who do you think you are? I am.
We haven't. I don't even know his bowling. Bowling's not hot now. It's not in the zeitgeist. No one's talking about him. People rather hear us talk about pickleball.
Yeah.
He said than bowling. And fourth is just the continue to listen to other potters. They're good. And maybe one day we'll get one company to give us a commercial so that I can say, coming back soon. And you can be randomly talking about WeWork.
We'll be working on that. That's easy to check off, potentially even on our next episode. Absolutely. Anyway, thanks to our listeners. Thanks to you, Tarlin. We'll be back, running it back. 60 plus episodes so far, still going strong. 2024 is on the horizon. Thanks for joining us. This is Running It Back. Any closing thoughts to make it sound good?
Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. We're in the midst right now. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa.